Hello bros and sisters, welcome to Unemployment Tube, where tonight we're going to cook a shepherd's pie. You join me in the emergency kitchenette, if you like, of my workshop area. And if nothing else, this video will show to you just how important proper directors and proper editors are in the world of television. I'm sorry the lighting is poor and all the rest of it. Anyway, we're going to make a shepherd's pie, and I mean just straightforward hospital specification shepherd's pie. You will hear a lot of boring food head types saying how they like to go to this or that insert fashionable name restaurant, and then they say, oh, my favourite dish is the shepherd's pie, as if that makes them all sort of down and one of the people. Well, this isn't a dish, this is simply a pie. So, what is in a shepherd's pie? Well, you know, roughly, it is minced lamb. This is just normal minced lamb from the local supermarket, nothing special. Onion, which you cook with it, and then on top of that you have potato mashed up with a little bit of cheese on the top to give it sort of slightly crusty goodness. And you might mix into a bit of that, most people do, some tomato puree. Those are the standard bits. Now the things I like to add in my version are some mushrooms. Again, these are just perfectly normal ones in the supermarket around the corner. In fact, those are the ones on special offer. They're just mushrooms. I also put in a small chilli, because lamb is a very fatty meat, and the chilli just gives a little bit of heat that sort of cuts through the cloying fattiness, livens it up a bit. But don't go mad, just a little of them like that. We're not making a jalfrezi, remember. And then finally, hang on a minute, some green cardamom pods. These things. The reason for that is we know from Indian cooking that these go very well with lamb. They give it a little bit of fizz. Think of a keema curry, for example. That's what the Indians would do. They put a bit of green cardamom in. This is multiculturalism in action in the kitchen. What else? Oh yes, this bottle of Chateauneuf du Pape, some of which may even end up in the pie. Now before we go any further, I'm going to pour some of that out. Oh yeah, we're also going to use, obviously, all the normal cooking shit like olive oil. There's some left-wing salt in that bowl, and that's the freshly ground black pepper. So, I want to talk a bit about proportions, because a lot of people become very neurotic about this and they think they have to weigh everything out like it says in cookbooks and so on. But you don't really, because to be honest, this isn't engineering, it's just cooking. We can see that for a shepherd's pie for two fairly fat people, that's a reasonable amount of mince. That is actually about 500 grams if you're interested. And here we have a few potatoes. Those look like enough potato to cover the top. And if we choose a dish, I have done so, here's the one I've chosen, you can sort of see by looking that once you've got 2 packets of that mince in, and you've got a bit of onion in there as well, chopped up and fried, and you've got some of our mushrooms mixed in with it, that's going to be fairly full, isn't it? And then, to cover that with a nice crispy layer of potato, probably 1.5 potatoes that size. So I'll use that one and that one. There you go. Preparation of the ingredients. The first thing to get on, I'm sorry you can't see my face in this, but that's just too complicated. Potatoes, they need to go on and start boiling, ready to make the mash for the top. Now it's a simple fact, you can't see this either, potatoes peel better if they're slightly damp. Use a proper potato peeler like one of these, because although it seems a bit poncy, it's actually less wasteful because you only take a tiny little bit of potato off. You can do it with a knife, but unless you're really very, very skilled, you will waste quite a bit of potato. Just to speed this up, let's imagine you've peeled the whole potato, the whole of both potatoes, like so, and then using your knife, chop them up into pieces about that big. They'll go in the pan to be boiled. Just get rid of that. Onion. Knife sharpener helps a lot. Yeah, sharp as hell. Now, onion chopping, there's lots of theories about this, I don't really know any of them, but I think if you take off, you just do it this way, you just take off the nub-endy bits from each end like so, because they're a bit hard, and then the skin, you will find you can get the edge of your sharp knife underneath it and you can just peel it away. In actual fact, what I need to do, and I haven't got my specs on, but get the and you wouldn't be able to do this if I actually did it on camera, you get your knife under that very outer layer and the thing will come apart in a really very satisfying way. Whereas what I'm doing here is just taking the brown stuff off, but never mind. You know, the Greeks thought that the universe was constructed like an onion with many layers, and now look at them. Anyway, let's assume once again we've peeled all that and put that in the recycling bin or whatever. Onion chopping, yeah, you can just chop it up like so, go across it. You want to chop it up into little bits that are roughly, I don't know, chunks. That's what you want. Chunks of onion with a little bit of your finger in, something like that. Can you see that? Can you see that? I don't know. Look. Yeah, chunks of onion. Do the whole onion like that. What else? Mushrooms, obviously. Don't get bogged down in all that stuff about cutting the end off because it's grown in a bag full of cow poo. It doesn't matter. It's all going to be cooked anyway. Just give them a bit of a slice. Like so. Slices of mushrooms. They're going to shrink a bit, remember, when they're in the pan. What else do we need to prepare? Oh yeah, the chilli. Of course, the chilli you just, again, take that slightly nasty nub-endy bit off the fat end. And then... hang on. Yeah, and then you can sort of slice it lengthways. You can't see that, can you? I'll do it. No. Look. There. Slice it sort of lengthways. Make sure you don't lose the bits from inside, the sort of seedy bits, because that's where all the heat and goodness comes from. Once you've done that, again, chop and chop until you've got little bits of chilli like that. Okay? Perfectly simple. You will eventually need to cut a piece of cheese off, but that's so easy. I'm not going to insult you with any of that. Dish is in the oven. The next thing we're going to do is fry the onion, then fry the meat, start adding bits and pieces, make this exciting. Jumping ahead, I've chopped the ingredients up because you don't really want to watch that, and it's very, very simple. I don't want to insult your intelligence. I'll just... So look at that. We've got chopped up onion, potatoes chopped up into roughly equal sized pieces for boiling. There's the chilli all chopped up into small bits. I haven't done all the mushrooms yet, but I will do when the time comes. There's the minced lamb. Frying pan with a nice thick bottom for doing the meat in. There is the pot for doing the potatoes, and eventually we'll make the mash in there. And in the oven is the dish already being kept warm. So, stand by. I was listening to you all when you said put the camera in the portrait mode, sorry, out of portrait into landscape mode, so I've done that. It does mean it falls over occasionally. What we're going to do first, we're going to take some oil. I've got a bottle of quite poncy olive oil here, but you can use vegetable oil. You can probably use lard if that's your thing, I don't know. Splash of that in the pan. Don't need a huge amount. Remember, there's quite a lot of fat and juice in the meat and so on. That's about, I don't know, a heaped teaspoon of oil. Turn that on. Obviously it won't work because everything in here is broken. Yow. Let the pan heat up. Meanwhile, potatoes. Fill your potato boiling pot with cold water, not hot. I know it's tempting, but for some reason, I don't know exactly why, they will actually boil more evenly if you start from cold. There's the water. Into that we add just a little pinch of our cooking salt. Stick the bits of potato in there. That pan's a bit on the small side, to be honest, but never mind. It'll be fine. Put the lid on so we don't waste gas, heating the room up, and that isn't going to work either. So, there you go, potatoes are on, the oil is heating up. Are we ready? Just give it a few seconds. No, that's pretty good. You can actually tell when the oil's getting nice and hot. Well, eventually you can tell the oil is getting hot because your kitchen burns down. But in the meantime, it becomes runnier. It's actually smoking a bit. If I toss a bit of onion in, there you go, makes a noise. Sizzling. When you turn that down slightly. So here we go. Don't want the mushrooms yet. In goes the pile of onion. Way! Listen to that. I'm not prepared because I haven't got my thing. Where is that? There it is. Should really use a wooden one for this, but I broke the wooden one the other day. Give it an initial stir, so that it doesn't stick to the pan. There you go, the onions are fried. What you're looking for is the onions just starting to turn clear. You don't want them to go brown, you don't want them caramelised or anything like that. They're just starting to look a little bit translucent. And don't forget, I'm going to add the meat later, the onions will continue to cook, so it's important you don't overdo them. Good, tiny bit more heat. You just want them to keep sizzling away excitedly. Then we can put in the little pieces of chilli, as long as we want the flavour and the heat to come out of those, go into the general juicy background of the whole concoction. There we go. Those can continue to fry, probably for something like, I don't know, 2 minutes, maybe it's 3 minutes, I don't know, it doesn't matter. You'll see and you'll sense when it's right. Don't put any pepper in while you're cooking. Pepper burns, salt cooks. That's the rule. I've been told that by a leading chef. Right, can you see from that the onion is starting to look like cooked onion? It's going very slightly translucent, it's going nice and shiny. That's where we want to be. We don't want to overdo it, remember, because we're going to add the meat. Everything will continue cooking. Stand by. Right, here we go for adding the meat. I'm going to move the onion to the edges of the pan, just because I want it out of the way when I put the lamb in, because I want to sort of brown it off a bit. Okay, so make a ring of onion at the edge, like that. I'll knock the heat down for the moment. Lamb can go straight in, bang. Okay, so I'm going to take the piece of paper off, because that will really spoil the flavour. There's a bit that's escaped, no chance. Likewise the other packet. That's 2 packets, that's 500 grams, if you're bothered about exact measures. That will make a healthy pie for 2 people. Wash hands, I've touched meat, and now I'm going to touch the tools. Today's tea towel, by the way, has, what does it have? Oh yes, a selection of Royal Air Force Second World War aircraft. The other one I'm sure has got cats on it or something like that. Okay, we're going to break up those blocks of mince. This is always the bit that I don't like, because you think, well, that's not like mince, that's just like a block of slightly flaky meat. But just give it a chance. Give it a bit more heat as well. Bit more heat. It's not sizzling enough for my liking. It is nice and oily though. Now, while we're doing that as well, we'll talk about the green cardamom pods. Hang on, because I know I'm out of shot. I'm looking for. I really should have done this before I started. Here we go. I knew it was in here somewhere. This pestle and mortar. I've had this for centuries. Somebody bought it for me for my birthday when I was in my 20s. The thing about the green cardamom is the pod itself. It's very difficult to show you this. The pod is not what you want. That's actually pretty much inedible, but it's the seeds inside. So you give it a bit of a crush. Hear it? And that releases the little seedlings. Can you see that in there is now the pods, and you can see the little seeds. There's one. Seeds, look. See the seeds? See, you can't see them. Yeah, there you go. You see seeds coming out. That seeds coming right out of the. Is that the pestle or the mortar? I can never remember. The lamb is starting to cook quite nicely. I'm going to sprinkle my cardamom seeds in there, so they'll gradually get mixed in and reach their lovely flavour into the meat. Make it so much more lively and surprising, really, because you don't really expect that in a shepherd's pie, that little hint of some other far-off land that we know. Shut up, Jeff, for God's sake. Utter bollocks. Right. Yeah. I'm going to add a tiny pinch of salt to that. While the camera was off, I did taste a bit of the onion, and I thought, small amount of salt, but only a bit. It helps bring out the flavour. You don't actually taste the salt, you taste the effect the salt has. It's a bit like oiling a... Again, shut up. Here we go then, look at that, the meat is browning off. The colours may not come out very well on YouTube or on this iPad, but the meat is cooking, the onions have gone nice and clear, it's sizzling away, there's some juice. My potatoes in there are simmering, which is great, they're not done yet. I'm ready to add the mushrooms. We don't want the mushrooms to be too cooked, we don't want them fried really, we just want them heated up so they retain their raw mushroomy goodness. Hang on. In go the mushrooms. Till heat them very slightly. Stir them in. Now we're going to put in the tomato puree. This sort of just, I don't know what it does, it makes it nice. Squirt, that's probably, what's that the equivalent of? An egg cup full. Something like that, maybe an egg cup full and a half. Just give it a moment to warm up because that makes it more fluid. And then we can stir it in. And then we can start thinking about making our gravy style juice. This can go in the bin, obviously. It smells nice, it does smell nice. Not sophisticated, I didn't say that, just nice. Right, this is a bit of a cheat. Here's a small joke. Now, I want to add a little bit of rich brown gravy-like goodness to that, and I'm actually going to do it. Real cooks look away because this is disgraceful. I know. I'm going to use a spoonful of old-fashioned gravy granules. Just a bit. Well, there's actually nothing wrong with these things. They're pretty good, I think. So again, a sort of heat spoon. There's the granules. And now we'll put those away because it's shameful. Sorry about my hair, by the way. I don't know what's going on. It's very hot in here. So we got that in there. Add a tiny bit of pepper to that. What the hell is... How can that not be working? It is. There we go, there's a little bit of pepper in there. I'm going to put a tiny amount of the Chateauneuf de Papin, like so, and a little bit of, what the hell have I done with that? Hang on. Here we go. Someone's put it away. Liam Perrins, or you could put Worcester sauce in, or a bit of gravy browning, anything that makes it sort of brown, really. This is brown food. Right, I'm going to add a bit of hot water to that from the potato pot in a minute when we come to do the mash. There you go. So let's have a look at the potatoes again, which are about to boil over, so we'll knock that back. There you go, the spuds are yielding, but they're not entirely compliant, so I think that's about right. Good. Oven gloves, where are those? Now, what I'm going to do is just take a small amount of that potato water and pour it into my little jug with the gravy granules and stuff in. There you go. Not very much at all. But you can't see this, and I'm bored of moving the camera around, but I'm just pouring the potatoes out into an ancient colander so that the water disappears. And now, having done that, put the spuds back into the hot pan. That will dry off any excess moisture because the pan is hot. It's got quite a nice thick bottom, this one. Put that to one side for a moment. That's looking very nice. I'm going to add to that nice mixture sausage that we made with the grain granules and so on. Here we go, let's give that a last stir. Yeah, it's all mixed up very nicely. Yes. Almost made slightly too much. That really is all you need. That was the equivalent of a small teacup such as your grandmother would have had. That sort of amount, that's all. This, remember, is shepherd's pie for two slightly fat people, so it's two generous portions. Right, I'm going to show you this because I think it looks quite exciting. There we go, we've added tomato puree, we've added the gravy mixture I made, everything is looking lovely. There are my potatoes just drying off a bit. We're now going to make the mash. Right, what I'm going to do now, because the timings are slightly out, is take my oven dish out. This is not at high temperature, remember, I've got it on at about just 50 or 60, sort of keeping warm temperature. There's the dish. I'm going to transfer all my pie, you see it, it's very nice, all my pie innards into the dish. And that can stay in the oven just being warm for the moment. We don't want to dry it out, we don't want to continue cooking it in the oven, we just want to stop it getting cold. There you go. That is in there. Right, mash. Here we go. We have a pot full of potatoes. They have been boiled so that they've softened up, they haven't gone fluffy yet. What we need to add to that is a little bit of milk, let's say, how much is that? That's again probably the equivalent of little grandma's teacup of milk, maybe a little bit more. And then we're going to add, where the hell is it? A knob of butter. I've got a little bit of butter left here in my fridge. Now, again, don't get neurotic about this and start getting your scales out and trying to weigh it. I've actually got here, left in this packet, just about the perfect amount. You want, what's the best way of describing it? You want a knob of butter about the size of a piece of cheese. There you go. Not critical. Put that in. Give it half a minute or so to melt. And then we will get the potato masher, if I can find the bloody thing. And, oh no, it's here. No, it's not. That's a, no, here it is. Ow, hang on a minute. That's what we're looking for. There is our potato, butter and milk mix. To that, I'm going to add a little squirt of black pepper, a couple of twists. Really don't overdo it. You don't want to just be peppery. Where have I put the? Here we go. Potato masher. Look, bugger off. Potato masher. All you do is press down a few times. You end up with a mashy bit on there. Knock it off. Keep repeating that. You want the butter and the milk to mix in with the potato very evenly. You'll be able to see when it's happened. I quite like the potato topping to remain a little bit coarse. I don't like it when it's been done in a food blender or with one of those things, because it makes it a bit too much like potato flavoured ice cream. I don't really want that. I want a little bit of sort of peasanty roughness to it. But you do want it properly mixed up, so I'll just do this for half a minute or so. I was talking to the cat just now, by the way, if you thought I'd gone completely mental. He's down here begging for scraps. See, that's turning into school mash. Nice. Not too smooth, not too rough, just nice, mashy mash. No idea what I'm talking about. Right. Now we shall get the pie that we've made so far, all the inner stuff out of the oven, and we shall attempt to put the mash on top of it. This is the bit I can't do very well because I don't have the right tools for it. I don't have one of those potato squirter out. This metal spatula what's it again. Get the potato, make it into a sort of flat piece, almost as if you're going to make some sort of potato pancake. Wipe it on the dish. Ow. Again, keep doing that. Like so. Smooth it out. There it is with the potato on the top. Okay? Potato on top. Now what we're going to do, because everybody has said I must do this, and I wouldn't necessarily do this, it's not critical, but we take our packet of mousetrap cheddar, cut off a chunk of cheese about the size of a knob of butter, 2 of them maybe. The Mooley grater, the greatest machine ever conceived for the kitchen. I've had this one since I was a university student. It's been restored twice, it's a bit like an NGB. Put the piece of cheese in, and then just grate the cheesiness on the top. You just want a bit of a layer of cheese that will go crusty and brown and lovely. That'll do. That piece of cheese was plenty. There you go, there's cheesiness on the top. That piece of surviving cheese can be a little treat for me. A cheese and wine moment. Great. That can go in the oven. Put that in. Give that a bit of a warm. Make sure everything's heated through. Do that for maybe 10 minutes while I enjoy my cheese and wine, and then we'll turn the oven off and put the grill on and toast it from the top so you get the crusty, what would you call that if you were a geologist? I don't know, the crust. Yeah, there you go. I'm a bit of a mess, I'm sorry about this, but you know. So we turn the oven off. I've got the pie up near the top, can you see that? It's quite near the elements at the top of the oven. It's an electric grill. We've got to put this, I don't use this kitchen very often, so everything in here is a bit old and a bit knackered. I've rescued some of it from my flat I had long ago. Now we put the grill on. That's just there so that the knobs don't get so hot that they burn your fingers off. Put the grill on a nice high heat, and we're just going to brown off the top to make it, well, look better really, but probably makes it taste nice as well. I don't know. Right, here we go. Is it any good? Let's find out. This looks more like a pie for 6 people than 2. That's always the way, isn't it? But what do we think? Looking good? Maybe a bit too much potato. Does it matter? Not really. You can walk back a bit and pan out for the... It's going to be hot, isn't it? Don't blow your food, it's really bad manners, but we're still in the kitchen, so it's okay. Yes! Cut.